Excuse me? Did you just ask what was BGK Network for? I'm glad that you asked. Let me get the number up because I know you're going to call. So BGK was founded by Michael. What happened to the number? The number's at the top of the screen now. But anyway, get the number. As I was saying, BGK Network was founded by... It's at the bottom of the screen. Really? Really? Okay. I'm sorry for calling you Michael. Apostle, just put me back where I can talk. Just put me back, please. Wow, some people are so sensitive, right? But seriously, what you just saw was a sample of what Apostle Michael Dulaney and Evangelist Tiffany can do through virtual ministry with BGK Network. They founded BGK to help people like you and myself to put the gospel out around the world. It's a great opportunity. I do encourage you to call the number. It's more affordable than you think. Give them a call. I did.
Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About Marriage and the Family. I'm Dr. Ramona Joseph, commonly known as Dr. Mom, and I'm so excited to have you as my guest today. Don't forget, I am asking you to get some of my little cards and put them up in the health club, in the grocery store, wherever there's a bulletin board. You get some of my cards and put them up. The card simply says, Let's Talk About Marriage and the Family, gives all the information about Let's Talk About Marriage and the Family. And then on the reverse side, because I have some people that are interested in coming on to the network, and as you can see, I put it up, probably you can possibly see it. I would be offering you some affordable rates to share your ministry on the Saints. That would be a weekly presentation that you would do. So contact me at Dr. Mom, 972-816-7887, or you can contact me at rjjoseph920@gmail.com. You'd think I'd be able to remember what the 920 was. It was my birthday. But I'm very interested if you want pastoral counseling. I am certified as a pastoral counselor for marriage and family. You can contact me through email, or you can contact me at that number. So without any further ado, I am just so excited to have my guest, Minister Renee Carter. She met her several years ago as I had relocated to the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And in addition to that, we both served at Nations Forward Community Church. She's a brilliant woman who's an author. I think I prophesied over her life that she would be like a Henrietta Mears, who wrote the books, What the Bible is All About, and was prolific in getting the whole Bible study out, Genesis to Revelation. And certainly Minister Renee has not failed in doing what that prophecy had I had spoke over her life. So welcome, Minister Renee Carter, to Let's Talk About Marriage and the Family. How are you today?
I am well, Dr. Joseph. Thank you for inviting me and having me here, and for that introduction and the things that you've said. I'm going, okay. I hope I live up to that.
Well, no more than living up to it, I think that you have proceeded with your book, which we're going to be talking about. You have proceeded not only with your book, but you have proceeded to affect ministry with not only lay persons within the body of Christ, but with people that are leaders. And we have talked several times about leadership needing the dynamics of healthcare, special healthcare. And that is not physical health care, that's emotional health care. So would you tell my viewing audience some things about yourself, who you are, what are the dynamics of your family, and they'll get a chance to know a lot more about you.
All right. Well, very quickly, I am a wife of over 51 years
Wow.
to the same man. I call him Mr. Bill.
Yes, yes.
And we are so blessed to have 3 adult children, 2 grandchildren, and just an awesome blessing to have the family that I have. I was born in West Virginia, in Beckley, West Virginia, and again, blessed to have been brought up in a loving, caring, faith-filled home. Not perfect, oh my Lord, not by any means, but when I think of my growing up years, I really get a warm feeling. I'm the youngest of 3 girls, and my mom and my dad and my oldest sister are with the Lord right now. They've gone on, so it's me and my sister Georgiana. She's 22 months older than me, but we're very close. She's in Michigan. So went to my education was very important. My father was an educator, and he stressed that. He said eons ago, he said, all 3 of my girls are going to Hampton, and he made it so. He and my mother sacrificed and made it so. So I'm grateful for that. And that's I got my BS degree in sociology from Hampton. It was Hampton Institute at the time. Now it's Hampton University in Virginia. And then I have my master's in Christian counseling from Queen City Bible College. You know all about that, Dr.
Yes,
Joseph.
yes,
You
yes.
were the academic dean,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
And it functioned, I think, from 94 to 2014, I believe. So
Yes.
I was just blessed to have my Master of Christian Counseling. Worked out in corporate for about 17 years. Back in the day, it was the Bell system, Ma Bell,
Yes.
Southern Bell at the time. I took an early retirement. Then I was on staff at my church, as you mentioned, where we met and served together at Nations 4 Community Church here in Charlotte. And I was the executive coordinator to the senior pastor, Bishop Philip Davis, who is deceased. He died in 2015 suddenly. And I was already set to retire. I
Yeah.
had served 20 years as
Yes.
his executive coordinator. So,
Yes.
and also on the ministerial team with you. Just teaching, also liaison to the caring ministries of the church.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, I created and developed and was the overseer, if you will, of the deacon family ministry, of lay counseling,
Yes.
discipleship training classes. I actually taught a class that I created on grief,
Yes.
even before I was certified to do that. And I know we'll talk about that later. So I have a heart for how people feel,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
what's
Yes.
really going on with them, their emotional well-being. God just put that in me, and I have a heart for that.
Yes. Yes. You certainly do. Working with you through the years, and knowing what your concerns were, even as Bishop Davis had moved for the new ministerial staff coming in, that they had to do some emotional health, well-being, finding out who they were, and not just taking on a title as minister. And I'm not being critical. I want my audience to know
No.
I'm not being critical of ministers, senior leaders, pastors, or bishops that have not availed themselves of a counselor. But it is so necessary. And we saw that in 2019, as we were all being homed, everything was at home. Even I believe that many people suffered so greatly because they did not have a full understanding of where they were. And so you had a mom and dad home. They had never been home. They had to interact with children in a way they had never had to interact with them.
That's true.
And so now the family kind of became at odds. And the one place that you could go and find a relief was your church home, your faith-based place. And that wasn't even available to you. And streaming was keeping the word alive, but there were so many emotional traumas that were going on. And not only trauma with the body of Christ, but with much of the leadership. So you have a project I was involved in, and please share. We can see in the background over your shoulder your book called "What About Me?"
Yeah.
And this is a bestseller. Because you will have an opportunity to go on Amazon and get the book, or go to Borders, wherever you purchase your books, and get this book so that you can see some of the questions you may have about yourself as leaders respond to questions they had about themselves. So tell us about the book.
The book is an outgrowth of my thesis. I mentioned my thesis that I did, the Master of Christian Counseling. And the title of the thesis, and this was back in, oh my goodness, 2009, I believe it was. No, 2004. The Biblical Counselor, a healthy profile of the soul care provider in the 21st century church. So it was focused and pretty much directed towards pastors, other leaders in the faith and ministry, chaplains such as yourself, and others. And then it kind of morphed into just the whole gamut of leaders who are charged with caring for the souls of other people. And so I just recognized that while you're caring for the souls of other people, what about your soul?
Yes.
Yeah. And we talk often about, and we make the analogy of when you're, on the airplane, what do they tell you?
Yes.
Put your mask on first.
Yes.
Before you can assist, let's just say if you're traveling with a child or someone else who needs assistance, make sure you've got your mask on. And so that's what this book is about. The complete title is What About Me? Staying Healthy and Whole while you're helping others. And so many times, and as you said before, Dr. Joseph, I want my audience to know this is not a judgment. This is not an indictment.
No.
It certainly is not. What it is a reminder and also a nudge to our leaders to just remember what Jesus said. And I use this as a backdrop or foundation, this particular scripture, when he said, you shall love you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all your spirit. And then he said, and the second commandment is, you shall love your neighbor, how? As yourself. And I don't know if we really get a hold of the holistic meaning of that as you love yourself. So now that begs the question, do you love yourself?
Yes.
Do you love yourself enough to invest in your self-care?
Yes.
In yours, I like to put the two together, in your soul self-care.
Yes, yes.
And that's what this book is all about. It's a series of conversations that I had with leaders in their respective field. And these are all believers who are serving in business, who are serving in ministry. I was blessed and honored to have you to be a part of this book. You were
Yes,
one of, I think I had a total of 10 people
yes,
who served, and they just ran the gamut of their own respective areas of service,
yes.
from psychiatrists. I had a husband and wife medical team,
Okay.
spiritual director, another husband and wife. One is a spiritual director, and she also has just founded. Dr. Barbara Peacock has just founded uh, the only, and I think, female and African American Soul Care Institute, where
Okay.
you can get a certificate in spiritual formation and spiritual direction. Her
Okay.
husband also is an entrepreneur, he's a financial advisor. We have bishops, we have uh, a pastor's wife who is also a psychiatric nurse.
Okay.
And so we have a count therapist who is over behavioral health in where you are in your area
Yeah.
at the Potter's House.
Okay.
Um, and just a self-care expert. We just have so many. And they speak from their skilled area. And most importantly, they weave it together to show the necessity of holistic health,
Yes.
spirit, soul, and body.
Yes, yes, yes. And that is an awesome place for people to understand that even leaders have we have our problems, and
Mhm,
so how
mhm,
have we overcome those particular problems?
mhm.
And I tell my audience all the time, I believe in prayer. Wrote a book about prayer. Lord, teach
Yes,
us to pray.
exactly.
And yet I understand that, Lord, teach us to pray, but I have a bad tooth. And so
Mhm,
I need to be prepared to go to a dentist to take care of that
mhm,
tooth. Or
mhm,
I have diabetes or high blood pressure, or I have some heart problems. I need
mhm.
to go to a physician. It doesn't negate the fact that I'm praying, but
Right.
we seem to put our mental health, our psychological health, our emotional health, we
Mhm.
tend to want to put that in a place where we don't need professionalism to help us. And,
Right.
well, I prayed and I'm going to be okay.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
every area of our life needs that professional care. So I understand
Yes.
what inspired you to write the book. Now you did some things specifically to further your project with the book. So
Mhm.
we've got about 10 minutes. Can you talk about what you were doing to further What About Me? Because it just wasn't a one-time publication.
Exactly, exactly. The first publication of What About Me was in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
right on the cusp of 2020, the pandemic, where the world was really turned upside down. So wrote the book then, and then 2020 happened, and so many other things happened that just assaulted every part of our world,
Mm-hmm.
all of the institutions that we depended on. And we don't even have to rehearse all of that, but everything has been impacted. And so I said, okay, we're in a state of grief. We're
Yes.
in a state of pandemonium. We're in a state of not only corporate grief, but we still have our personal grief that we were dealing with. And
Mm-hmm.
so it became compounded. So I knew that this book contained the principles that were not dated,
Yes. Yes.
not dated. Okay, even though there might be some mentions of some events that were going on then, well, my goodness, look at today.
Yes.
Look at today of what's going on in our world, in our country, in our respective communities.
Yes.
Same thing. And so, if anything, it's even more warranted because our leaders have suffered.
Yes.
They have suffered, and you mentioned it, Dr. Joseph. Um, we weren't able to meet in the traditional way.
Yes.
Our churches were closed, and we had to meet virtually. So not only did that impact the congregation, look at what that did to our pastors.
Yes.
They had to talk and preach and teach to a computer screen.
Yes.
And they didn't know if his or her congregants were on the other side. Were they there? Were they hearing? Were they listening? And then look at all of the funerals because of the deaths due to COVID,
Yes.
plus just normal life and death situations going on. And I heard from pastors who said, this is just too much.
Yes.
And I saw it as a parade of caskets,
Mm-hmm.
like a revolving door. So not only did they have to minister to that particular family, or even maybe the family wasn't able to have a traditional service.
Yes, yes, yes. One of my patients at the substance abuse facility said that his wife was watching television. He had gone to bed, and then he got up because he could still hear the television and did not know what was going on, and found her slumped over. So he called the paramedics, and the paramedics took her. And he said, when I got to the hospital, they said, "Oh, no, you can't come in the hospital. And
Right.
someone will come out and talk to you," and they pronounced her dead.
Yeah.
And so then the funeral, he said there was a closed casket. And so I wasn't even able to ever see her again. And that was traumatic for him, that
Very.
even
Yeah.
for the funeral service, because he was a Catholic, but the mass that they had, it was only the priest there in a mask. And he said, our children weren't able to come. They didn't want to come because of grandchildren, so he said, there I was. And I think the poignant picture that we saw was Queen Elizabeth at the death of her husband, Prince Philip. And there she is in the chair in the black outfit, and the mask on her face, and she's sitting there alone. How many of those scenes were like that? So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. And that involves relationships, relationships which are key. That's the nature of who we are,
Yeah.
the relationships that we have, and just the impact of that on our psyche, on our emotions, on our heart, on our feelings. And one of the questions that I ask when I'm introducing this book, and when you open it up, is, how are you feeling?
Yes.
And many times we as Christians, we as believers, especially leaders, oh, that F word, feelings, if you really, really are authentic and honest, and of course you got to use wisdom who you share with, just the fact that you are just torn up on the inside.
Yes,
but you're expected to keep going and to serve people, so it's very difficult. And
well, I want to talk about one of your friends and one of the people that has inspired you in the book. We only have a few minutes left, Dr. Samuel Chan.
yes.
And he spoke at the African American College of Bishops, Pentecostal, which Bishop J.D. Ellis was alive at that time. And I was there in that particular session for bishops and overseers. And Dr. Chan talked about his last day at Beulah Heights College, and had been the founder of Beulah Heights. And he said, My last day, my desk was cleaned off. The credit card that I used for, travel, international travel, etc. He said, I left the card on the desk, and he said, the silence when I closed the door for the last time was
Yes.
utterly unbearable. And I could empathize with him on that, because I'm a pastor that left a thriving ministry because God said so, and the silence it's overwhelming. So how are you feeling? Well, I feel devastated.
Yes.
I gave 15 years of my life to this ministry, and I am hurt that God has said it's time for you to move on.
Yes.
Healing.
Oh my goodness. And as Dr. Chan, of course, he was the the one who I spoke with, who really catapulted me into writing this book, because he used to come to Nations Forward and do leadership trainings. And so that's how I met Dr. Chan. And that was way, way, way back in the day. So he's in my book. He's in chapter 1 of my book. And what he is doing now, just reaching people internationally, because his thing is serving leaders.
Yes.
Serving leaders. That's what he wants to do. And that's what he does.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes. And then the master class, I must mention this, the master class that goes with this book is such that you can experience the fullness of What About Me, the fullness, which includes the book, a study guide that complements the book, that helps you to do self-reflection, to go deeper, to take that inner journey so you can get to know who you are.
Okay.
Therefore, you can love yourself, because you got to know who you are and who God created you to be. And then the video, which is a snippet, I call it, where you can interact and get to know you all, the voices, because it is snippets of the actual conversation that I had with each of you.
Okay.
And so that comprises the video and then some other things in the video. So that's the master class. And that is something that I encourage everybody to subscribe to, the master class. And also,
okay, will you come back and we'll do a part 2? And then I want you to talk extensively about the master class and how people can become involved with it. So we'll be doing a part 2. Will that be okay for you?
Well, that'll be just fine.
All right. I'm Dr. Ramona Joseph. Don't forget, I keep putting this in the wrong way. Don't forget little cards. Let's talk about marriage and the family. I will send you the number that you request. So you need to call me at 972-916-7887. I want to hear my phone ring. I want you to also call me if you want pastoral care for your marriage, for your family. I am certified as a pastoral care, marriage, and family therapist. So please give me a phone call or contact me through email, rjjoseph920@gmail.com. So it's just been a wonderful pleasure talking with my friend, Minister Renee Carter, and hearing about What About Me, even though I was a part of it. There's a bigger picture. She's going to come back on our part 2, and she's going to be talking about how you can become involved in the masterclass. So for this edition of Let's Talk About Marriage and the Family, I want to say thank you so much for viewing us. Thank you so much for telling other people about us. I am really happy when I hear people say, yes, someone told me about Let's Talk About Marriage and the Family. So until the next time we have an opportunity to share together, this is Dr. Mom saying love and peace to each one of you. God bless.